Welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that's really gaining traction in the retirement planning world. How to build a FIRE portfolio step by step.
That's right, Emily. For those who might not be familiar, FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. It's about taking control of your finances so you can retire sooner and enjoy life on your own terms.
Exactly. And we're here to break it down for you. We'll walk through some key steps to building a solid portfolio that aligns with your FIRE goals.
We'll discuss things like setting realistic savings targets, choosing the right investments, and understanding your risk tolerance.
Plus, we'll touch on how to create a sustainable withdrawal strategy, which is super important once you reach that retirement phase.
And don't forget, we'll also share some tips on how to adjust your lifestyle to fit your new financial plan.
It's so exciting to think about the freedom that can come from a well-structured FIRE portfolio, right?
Absolutely. And while it may seem daunting at first, with the right guidance and a clear plan, it's definitely achievable.
All right, let's get into it. First up, let's talk about the importance of setting realistic savings targets.
You know, Emily, when we talk about building a FIRE portfolio, it's really about so much more than just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about peace of mind. Right?
Absolutely, David. And right now, with so many economic shifts, it feels more crucial than ever for folks to understand how to create that financial independence.
Yeah, and let's not forget about inflation. It's been a hot topic lately. Just last year, we saw rising prices in everyday goods, from groceries to gas. It's like every time we go to the store, we're reminded of how our dollars are stretching thinner.
Exactly. And that's a huge concern for retirees or those about to retire. If you're planning to spend 20 or 30 years in retirement, you really have to factor in inflation when you're building your portfolio.
Right. You know, I had a client, let's call her Susan. She thought her nest egg would last her through retirement without a hitch. But when we sat down and discussed her withdrawal strategy, we realized if she didn't account for inflation, she could be facing a significant shortfall down the line.
That's such a common scenario. It's like, you think you've saved enough, but the cost of living can really chip away at those savings.
Exactly. And alongside inflation, we have to talk about market volatility. The stock market can be really unpredictable. Just look at what happened in 2020 and 2021 with the pandemic. Market swings were wild.
Tell me about it. It felt like every day there was a new headline about stock prices plummeting or skyrocketing. For someone about to retire, that kind of uncertainty can be terrifying.
For sure. I had another client, let's call him Mark. He was so close to retirement, but when the market took a dive, he started reconsidering his plans. He was worried that his retirement savings would take a hit, making him delay his retirement.
That's a tough spot to be in. I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, and that's why it's essential to have a well-diversified FIRE portfolio. You want to build in some stability so that when markets fluctuate, you're not left scrambling.
And that leads into another point, tax efficiency. With changes in tax laws and potential increases down the line, planning for taxes in retirement is more critical than ever.
Absolutely. I often remind my clients that taxes don't stop just because you retire. In fact, they can get more complicated. If you don't plan ahead, you could end up paying a lot more than you need to.
Right. I know you've talked about the importance of tax-advantaged accounts before. It's such a smart strategy to utilize those when building a FIRE portfolio.
Exactly. And with Social Security on the table, the rules keep changing. You know, there's talk about potential adjustments to benefits, which could impact future retirees.
That's a big deal for many people. It's like, for some, Social Security is a significant chunk of their retirement income. If those benefits change, it can really throw a wrench in their plans.
Yes, and let's not forget about healthcare costs. They're skyrocketing too. I mean, have you seen the statistics on how much retirees spend on healthcare?
It's alarming. A lot of people don't realize just how much of their budget will go to medical expenses. It's not just about Medicare anymore. There are premiums, out-of-pocket costs, and don't even get me started on long-term care.
Right. That's why it's crucial to plan for those potential expenses. I had a retiree, let's call him James, who didn't factor in healthcare costs when he built his retirement plan. He ended up having to dip into his principal much earlier than he anticipated.
Ouch! That must have been a tough lesson.
It was, but it highlights why we need to think about these things now, not later. Building a solid FIRE portfolio is about creating a foundation that can withstand those unexpected changes.
And, the emotional side of financial security in retirement can't be overlooked either. When people feel secure in their financial situation, they can truly enjoy their retirement years.
Absolutely. I often see clients who are so stressed about their finances that they're not enjoying the time they have. A solid plan allows them to focus on what really matters, spending time with family, traveling, or picking up new hobbies.
Yes, it's about living life to the fullest and not constantly worrying about money. That peace of mind is invaluable.
And that's where legacy planning comes in too. Many people want to leave something behind for their loved ones, whether it's a financial legacy or simply values around money management.
Definitely. It's not just about us, but also about future generations.
Exactly. When you build a FIRE portfolio, with all these factors in mind, you're not just planning for your retirement. You're creating a lasting impact on your family's financial future as well.
So with all these considerations in mind, how do we take the next step? What are some core strategies for building that robust FIRE portfolio?
So when we talk about building a FIRE portfolio, one of the first things that comes to mind is asset allocation, right?
Absolutely. It's like the foundation of your financial house. You want to make sure that the mix of stocks and bonds is right for your risk tolerance and timeline.
Exactly. A common rule of thumb is the 70-30th split. 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds, especially if you're younger. As you get closer to retirement, you might want to shift that to something like 50-50 or even 40-60ths, depending on your comfort level.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Stocks can offer more growth potential, but they also come with higher volatility. Bonds, on the other hand, provide stability. So it's really about balancing those two, right?
Right. And let's not forget about tax-advantaged accounts like 401, KS, and IRAs. They're crucial for retirement planning. With a 401k, you get that employer match. If available, it's essentially free money.
Oh, for sure. And with traditional IRAs, you defer taxes until you withdraw, which can be beneficial if you expect to be in a lower tax bracket during retirement. But then there's the Roth IRA, which is funded with after-tax dollars.
Exactly. And that can be a game changer. With a Roth, your withdrawals in retirement are tax-free, which can be a big advantage if you think tax rates will rise in the future.
So for someone just starting out, how would you suggest they allocate their contributions between these different accounts?
Good question. A solid strategy is to max out any employer match in your 401k first. Then, if you can, contribute to a Roth IRA up to the annual limit. After that, you could go back to your 401k to max it out.
That makes sense. And if someone is self-employed or wants to save even more, they could consider a solo 401k or a SEP IRA, right?
Absolutely. Those options allow for higher contribution limits, which can be really beneficial. You want to take full advantage of every opportunity to save.
Speaking of saving, let's talk about real estate. How does that fit into the FIRE strategy?
Real estate can be an excellent part of a FIRE portfolio. It provides passive income through rental properties, which can supplement your retirement income. Plus, it has the potential for appreciation over time.
Right, and many people view it as a hedge against inflation, too. But it does come with its own risks and responsibilities, like maintenance costs and tenant management.
Exactly. So, if someone is considering real estate, they should really do their homework. It's not just about buying a property. It's about understanding the market, the location, and the potential for cash flow.
And let's not forget about annuities. They can also play a role in providing a steady income stream in retirement.
Yes, annuities can offer guaranteed income for life, which can be comforting for retirees worried about outliving their savings. But they can be complex, so it's important to understand the fees and terms.
Definitely. And when talking about income, we can't skip over Social Security optimization. That's a big piece of the puzzle.
For sure. Deciding when to start taking Social Security can significantly affect your retirement income. Delaying benefits can increase your monthly payment, sometimes by as much as 8% for each year you wait past your full retirement age.
Right. So if someone can afford to wait until age 70, that could be a smart move.
Exactly. But it's a personal decision based on individual circumstances, health, and financial needs. You want to create a strategy that aligns with your overall retirement goals.
Okay, let's shift gears a little. Withdrawal strategies are super important once you're in retirement. The 4% rule is commonly mentioned. Can you break that down a bit?
Sure. The 4% rule is a guideline suggesting that retirees can withdraw 4% of their portfolio annually, adjusted for inflation, without running out of money over a 30-year retirement.
So if you have $1 million portfolio, that means you could withdraw about $40,000 a year?
Exactly. But it's worth noting that the 4% rule is based on historical market performance. Some experts suggest being more conservative, especially with current market conditions.
Yeah, and that's where the bucket strategy can come into play. It's about segmenting your assets based on when you'll need them.
Right. You might have a short-term bucket for the first few years of retirement, which could be in cash or conservative investments to avoid market volatility. Then a mid-term bucket for the next 5 to 10 years, and a long-term bucket for growth, which could be more heavily invested in stocks.
That way, you're not forced to sell investments at a loss during a market downturn. It's a smart way to handle volatility.
Exactly. And diversification across different asset classes can help minimize risk too. You want to spread your investments to avoid putting all your eggs in one basket.
Speaking of risk, what about tax-saving techniques? Those can really add up over retirement.
Absolutely. Tax loss harvesting is one technique where you sell investments that are underperforming to offset gains elsewhere. And being strategic about withdrawals, like taking from taxable accounts first, can help minimize your tax burden.
And let's not forget required minimum distributions, or RMDs, which kick in at age 72. That's something to plan for so you're not hit with penalties.
Right. Managing your withdrawals to minimize taxes before RMDs start can give you a lot of flexibility.
Okay, so now that we've covered so much about building a FIRE portfolio, let's transition to some common pitfalls people should watch out for.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of planning, but there are definitely mistakes to avoid. So, Emily, as we dive into this section, I think it's important that we shine a light on some of the common pitfalls people face when planning for retirement. Because knowing what can go wrong is just as crucial as having a solid plan, right?
Absolutely, David. It's almost like navigating a minefield. If you don't know where the dangers are, you're bound to trip up. What do you think is one of the biggest mistakes folks make?
Well, one major issue is sequence of returns risk. A lot of people don't realize that the order in which you experience investment returns can significantly impact your retirement savings. For example, if you retire in a down market and have to withdraw from your investments, it can really hurt your long-term viability.
I can see how that would be a big deal. Do you have an example of that?
Sure, I had a client, let's call him John. He retired in 2008, right around the financial crisis. His portfolio took a hit, and because he needed to withdraw funds for living expenses, he ended up selling investments at a loss. It was a tough situation, and it had a lasting effect on his retirement savings.
Wow, that must have been stressful for him. How did he handle it?
Well, initially he was quite anxious, but once we reevaluated his withdrawal strategy, we came up with a plan that included a cash reserve to cover expenses for a few years. That way, he didn't have to sell investments during a downturn. It gave him a bit of breathing room.
That makes total sense. So having a buffer can really help mitigate that risk. What about taxes? I imagine many people overlook that aspect when they're planning withdrawals.
Exactly. It's a common oversight. Many retirees don't consider the tax implications of their withdrawals, which can lead to unexpected tax bills. For instance, I had a couple, let's call them Sarah and Tom. They were withdrawing from their traditional IRAs without factoring in how it would impact their tax bracket. By the end of the year, their tax bill was significantly higher than they anticipated.
Ouch, that sounds rough. Did they have to make any drastic adjustments?
Yes, they did. We worked together to create a more tax-efficient withdrawal strategy moving forward. We looked at diversifying their income sources, like drawing from their Roth accounts when it made sense, in order to keep their taxable income lower. It's all about being proactive.
Absolutely. And then there's healthcare. I feel like that's an area where people often underestimate their future needs.
You're spot on. Healthcare costs can be a huge surprise for retirees. I remember another client, let's call her Linda. She thought she'd be fine with Medicare alone, but as she aged, her medical expenses skyrocketed. She hadn't planned for long-term care or additional insurance, and it really put a strain on her budget.
That's a reality check for sure. What advice do you give to clients to avoid that situation?
I always recommend looking into long-term care insurance options early on. It's not necessarily for everyone, but understanding your potential future healthcare needs and costs is crucial. And doing regular health assessments can help you gauge what might be coming down the line.
Right, and it's not just about the cost, but also the lifestyle impacts too. Speaking of which, I know asset allocation is another area where people can get tripped up.
Definitely. I've seen retirees stick to overly conservative portfolios because they're afraid of market volatility, which can leave them vulnerable to inflation. I had a couple, let's call them Mike and Karen. They were so risk averse that they kept most of their savings in cash and low yield bonds. Over time, they realized their purchasing power was dwindling.
That's tough. So how do you guide them through a more balanced approach?
We took a closer look at their risk tolerance and time horizon. I often suggest a diversified portfolio that includes equities, even in retirement, to help combat inflation. It's about finding that sweet spot where they feel comfortable yet still have growth potential.
And then there's the Social Security claiming strategy. I know that can be a real minefield.
Yes, claiming too early can really impact your lifetime benefits. I had a client, let's call him Steve, who claimed at 62 because he was eager to start enjoying retirement. But he didn't realize how much that early claim would reduce his monthly benefit over time.
That's a hard lesson. Did he have any recourse?
Not much, unfortunately, but we did strategize around it to maximize his other income sources. It's all about weighing the pros and cons and understanding how those decisions can affect your financial landscape down the road.
So it seems like the key is being aware of these red flags early on. What are some signs that someone might be heading for trouble in their retirement planning?
Great question, Emily. Some red flags include not having a clear withdrawal strategy, a lack of emergency savings, or failing to regularly review and adjust their investment portfolio. If someone is relying solely on one income source, like Social Security, that can also be a warning sign.
It really seems like a holistic approach is necessary. So what's the best way for someone to recover or avoid these pitfalls?
Start by creating a comprehensive retirement plan that includes a solid withdrawal strategy, a good understanding of taxes, and a diversified investment portfolio. Regular check-ins are essential too. Life changes, markets change, and your plan should adapt accordingly.
That's such valuable advice. It sounds like the key takeaway is to stay informed and proactive.
Exactly. And don't hesitate to seek help from a financial advisor if you're uncertain. There's no shame in wanting to make sure you're on the right track.
Well, that's a fantastic way to wrap up this section. Thank you for sharing those insights, David. It's so important for our listeners to feel empowered in their planning.
I appreciate that, Emily. It's always a pleasure to help people navigate these waters. All right, Emily, let's dive into some actionable steps that our listeners can take right now to start building their FIRE portfolio.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the first things people can do is to assess their current financial situation. They should take a hard look at their expenses, income, and savings.
Right, and a great tool for that is a budgeting app. Something like Mint or YNAB can really help folks track their spending and identify areas where they might cut back.
Totally! And once they have a clear picture of their finances, they can start figuring out their FIRE number, right?
Exactly. There are retirement calculators out there that can help with that. Vanguard, Fidelity, and Schwab all have really user-friendly tools. Just plug in your numbers, and it gives you a good estimate of what you'll need to retire comfortably.
Yeah, and it can be eye-opening. Sometimes people realize they're closer to that number than they thought.
Absolutely. Once they figure out their FIRE number, the next step is to start optimizing their investment strategy.
Right! So if they're not already, they should consider opening a brokerage account or even a Roth IRA, especially if they want tax-free growth.
And speaking of accounts, they should definitely be maxing out their contributions to retirement accounts like 401ks or IRAs, if possible. It's never too late to boost those contributions.
Yes, and don't forget about employer matches. That's like free money sitting on the table.
Exactly. And then it's important to keep an eye on asset allocation. A diversified portfolio is key.
So for those who aren't sure how to diversify, what would you recommend?
Well, you could look into index funds or ETFs. They're generally lower cost and provide broad market exposure. Vanguard and Schwab have some great options.
Oh, I love index funds. And for those who might be a bit more hands-on, they could consider rebalancing their portfolios quarterly.
Right, that's a smart habit to get into. It helps ensure that they're not overly exposed to any one asset class.
And what about running retirement projections?
Yes, it's a great way to visualize how their savings will grow over time. Tools like the one from SSA.gov can help them see what to expect from Social Security, too.
That's super helpful. And for anyone feeling a bit overwhelmed, what about financial planning apps?
Definitely. Apps like Personal Capital or Betterment offer a comprehensive view of your financial health and can assist with retirement planning.
And they can help track investments all in one place, right?
Exactly. It's like having a financial advisor in your pocket.
That's so convenient. Now, let's not forget about the importance of continuous learning. Are there any books or podcasts you'd recommend?
For sure. The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins is a classic. It's straightforward and incredibly motivating.
And what about podcasts?
Choosify is a fantastic one for anyone interested in financial independence. They share so many practical tips and real-life stories.
I love that. And another habit people can develop is reviewing their portfolio regularly, like quarterly or even semi-annually.
Right, and if they notice that their asset allocation has drifted away from their target, they can take action to rebalance.
And just to emphasize, it's never too late to improve your retirement plan, right?
Absolutely. Whether you're in your 30s or nearing retirement, taking these steps can make a significant difference.
So, with all these tools and tips, it feels like our listeners are really equipped to strengthen their retirement plans.
Yes, they are. And remember, starting small is key. Just pick 1 or 2 steps to focus on and build from there.
Exactly. So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together.
Well, Emily, as we wrap up this episode, let's hit on some key takeaways about building that FIRE portfolio.
Absolutely, David. First off, I think we really emphasize the importance of having a clear financial plan, right? Knowing your goals and how much you need to save is crucial.
Exactly. And then we talked about asset allocation, which is so vital. Balancing your investments between stocks, bonds, and other assets can really help manage risk while still aiming for growth.
Yeah, and let's not forget the significance of regular portfolio reviews. This isn't a set it and forget it situation. You need to stay engaged and adjust as your life circumstances change.
Right, and we also highlighted the role of cash flow, making sure you have enough liquidity to handle unexpected expenses without derailing your long-term plans.
And finally, having a diversified income stream in retirement can provide a safety net, like Social Security, pensions, or rental income, which gives you more flexibility and peace of mind.
It's all about building and protecting that retirement wealth, ensuring you can enjoy the lifestyle you want while feeling secure.
Exactly. And for our listeners, if you found value in today's discussion, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and maybe even drop a comment about your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have.
Sharing this episode with someone who's planning for retirement or is already in it could really help them too.
And next time, we'll dive into a really important topic, how to avoid probate for your assets.
That's a big one, for sure.
We'll see you then. Take care.
Bye for now.